Let's take you quickly to Ziyanda Ngcobo. Ziyanda, my understanding is that you have one of the provincial leaders with you now. Who do you have?
Well, Xoli, I have the deputy chair of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, that's Nomagugu Simelane, and that KwaZulu-Natal province causing some upset in some ways. And I'm told, Nomagugu Simelane, that that day when some of your delegates were singing Wenzenu Zuma and your delegation was asked to stay behind, that the delegates who you thought would be and thought you'd consolidated to vote for Phumulo Masualle for Secretary General. Around 300 of them said that they now want to vote for Mdumiseni Ntuli to become Secretary General. Is that true? And where do you stand in terms of the negotiations that have been taking place?
Hi, Ziyanda, and thank you for having us. Look, when we stayed behind, we were not dealing with the issue of the song of Wenzenu Zuma, because that's a song that we are all singing as a province and we still believe in it. But earlier on there had been some upset and some ill discipline that had happened in conference, and we didn't to deal with that. As a result, the engagement that we had that evening was just dealing with logistics on where our delegates are going to sleep and so forth, but most importantly on the behavior that needed to be displayed by our delegates. I'm sure people at home saw some behavior that was very unpalatable on TV, and we needed to address that. The issue of 300 delegates that are not going to vote for Comrade Masualle did not arise. We were just talking on the issue of ill discipline, and we needed to be firm with our delegates.
This issue of ill discipline seems to always happen with this particular delegation from KwaZulu-Natal. Is it not because even when you came from your own provincial conference, this is what came in terms of just how bruising that election was? And also, are you not embarrassed as the KZN leadership to not be backing one of your own to become Secretary General?
Well, the issue of this ill discipline, firstly, might not necessarily be as a result of what happened in our provincial conference, but mostly because we believe that sometimes if you change delegates all the time, and you often have people who are not as experienced, younger people, they sometimes want to present themselves and express themselves in a manner that is not what we normally expect and appreciate in the African National Congress. So, which is why we then had to be very firm with our delegation and indicate that they are not just embarrassing the ANC, but they are embarrassing the province and they are embarrassing the branches that they are representing. When it comes to who we are supporting as a province, look, when we engaged with the different branches. Remember, we did something very different in the province of KwaZulu-Natal this time when we were preparing for conference. The leadership did not just pronounce on the names. We actually called all the branches and said, we are going to be nominating, can you guide us on how we want to proceed on the matter? So the names that we actually pronounced as the PEC are names that we were given by the branches of KwaZulu-Natal. So we do not have any other mandate except for the mandate that we were given by branches.
So has that mandate still held from the time you announced nominations? I'm asking this because there seems to be a lot of changes from different provinces. Limpopo, some of parts of it are apparently now also following suit, when KwaZulu-Natal was the first province to pronounce Dr Zweli Mkhize. So let's start off with, is this initial slate that you announced still intact?
It certainly is, except with the TG, where we then had to negotiate with the different provinces. And the second point, remember yesterday we also had constitutional amendments, and we added a second DSG, and we added a name from the Western Cape. But in terms of the original names that were proposed in the province, the names are as they are, except for the teaching.
What do you make then of that change from Mzwandile Masina decampaigning and now throwing his weight behind Pulemabe? What have you been told or are you privy to regarding that negotiation?
What happens when we nominate generally is that as provinces, we look at a name we want to support and we put that name forward, a name of our own in the province. But we also look around in the different provinces and say, well, we think this comrade we can nominate in this position for whatever reason that would have arose at that particular time. But when we engaged with the province of Gauteng and we gave them our proposed names, they said to us, well, we do like to work with you, but can you give us an opportunity to raise our own name or agree amongst ourselves as a province on which name do we think should come as Chichi? And that's the name that they gave us, the name of Comrade Pule. Comrade Pule and Comrade Mazwai are comrades of the same generation. They led together in the ANC Youth League. I led with them in the ANC Youth League. So, they are comrades that we all know. Both of them have very deep-seated history in the movement, in the Congress movement. So if their province say they would prefer one comrade over the other, and they give reasons which could not be the ones to dictate to the province of Gauteng on which name they should put forward.
Very quickly, Mr. Simelane, what is the KZN delegation's view of what happened during the nominations process? There's been a lot of upset and some disquiet from some quarters when the issue of the first Deputy Secretary General came about. Some were saying that it was closed and that Nomvula Mokonyane had actually taken it, and then some expressed upset with the election agencies, Buntle Mpakanyane, saying that she was now actually trying to force in the name of Tina Jomat Peterson, who of course was nominated from a different faction.
Well, we believe that Comrade Nomvula has been robbed of one historical moment of being nominated without being contested, because in essence she was nominated without being contested, because all the other names, and I think we're talking about more than 5 names that were punted for that position, either did not qualify or people did not avail themselves until the name of Comrade Gina came up, and the rest is history. But I'm not going to say anything about the processes, because that's the responsibility of the national leadership. If they think there's an issue in terms of how election behave themselves, then that's a matter that must be taken up. But I must say we were quite upset about how the issue panned out, because we believe that the process actually had been closed. We took far much longer on just that one name, when actually we had a name that had qualified, and it was the only name that had qualified. So it looked like people were fundraising names just to oppose Comrade Nomvula. But it's okay, she's in there and she's going to be elected as the DSG.
Dr. Zweli Mkhize closing this conference?
Certainly.
All right, so that's Nomagugu Simelane. She is the ANC KwaZulu-Natal's deputy chairperson. She's saying, well, in fact, reflecting on several issues there, but confident that Dr. Zweli Mkhize will be closing that conference. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue bringing you coverage here at Nasrec, where the ANC is holding its 55th National Conference.